chiropractor I go to, he's like, you're always on the left side. And I'm like, yeah, I wonder why that is. But now I realise I literally sit like this.
But everybody's like that. Everyone's got like a side that they lean towards or lean on.
Maybe. Are we recording? Mark just puts his thumb up. It's always weird, isn't it, when we start recording? Because we were just like having this really fluid chat in the coffee shop. Now we're like, right, let's get serious. Serious. I probably should even introduce you.
You probably shouldn't introduce me.
I probably should.
Yeah. Go on then.
Welcome along, Emma.
Thank you.
McSkelly. I can say it, see? Welcome to the show, which is sponsored by absolutely no one.
It will be now, on it.
Yeah,
loads of sponsorship.
Now you're here, every 5 minutes there's going to be like adverts for furniture thrown in. What do you reckon, Mark? Can we get that done? Can you just cut something in right now? Like, I want a video of you doing your thing.
Walking around my warehouse.
Walking around your warehouse.
Selling stuff. Peddling my
That's not what you do though, is it?
No.
You did tell me what you do.
I did tell you what I
did. You did, yeah. To sum it up in one sentence.
It's impossible to sum it up in one sentence.
A paragraph?
A paragraph. So essentially we sell surplus assets from businesses. We transform what they don't use anymore and sell it to other either businesses, communities, people around the world. So the client gets help because they get to sell their stuff.
Yeah.
The world gets help because it doesn't go to landfill. And then other businesses get help because they get stuff cheap.
I love stuff like that.
It's good.
It is good, isn't it?
It's amazing. I love what I do. Absolutely love what I do.
I can tell that because you're in here like, Mark, I tell you what, I've got some stuff that you could, and I thought this woman loves what she does, doesn't she?
Absolutely love it.
You also love psychotherapy.
I do love psychotherapy.
We were chatting about that in the coffee shop. If someone was listening to our chat in there, I wonder what they would have thought.
Right, check out these. They've gone from the most eclectic conversation ever. They've gone from tables.
They must have thought we were on a date or something. They have covered some ground in their coffee, those two. Life stories.
Speed date, Get to know.
Oh, brilliant. What a spot. I think if I was going to go on a speed date in Doncaster.
Don't.
I won't. But I think that would be the location.
That coffee shop?
Yeah.
Good coffee shop.
It was nice coffee too. So, your TED Talk. I'm just coming straight out at it. I just don't want to talk about your TED Talk.
Okay.
I want to talk about all the topics and all that stuff. I just want to have a good chat with you.
Okay.
Because you're somebody I find really interesting. And I could tell that just from our coffee. But how does somebody who does all that, like what you've just said, I won't say it because I won't be able to pitch it
like I can.
No, but you've been on telly, right? She's our first series. She's been on telly. Did you know that, Producer Mark?
Over a decade ago, and it was very cheesy.
Are you trying to hide it? Is this what, in about 20 years' time? Is this going to be celebrities' worst moments? You're going to be like, oh God, I was on that program.
You can't find it on.
Just tell me the name of the show, though.
Do I have to?
Yeah, go on. Ultimate
Dealers.
I love that name, Ultimate Dealer. Absolutely brilliant. I love it. Anyway, so how does somebody go from that? And you did a TED Talk. Normally people in my industry do TED Talks and they do it because they're like, I'm going to get some props.
Yeah.
I've done a TED Talk kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's not really.
No.
You're not really like, I can't imagine in your industry you go, yeah, I did a TED Talk and people go, oh my God, like we're going to work with you.
Yeah.
So what made you do a TED Talk, if you don't mind me asking?
Kind of detrimental to business, really. There was a link. So the TED licensee is also connected to the Youth Crime Commission. And I'd done a few talks, some total of 2, in my old school about starting there and what I'd come from. And he was like, wow, we need to get this on a... So he'd asked me to do it a few years before, and I went, I've never done anything like that. And it's very different sharing it to a group of youths. Some are like picking the nose, some are on the phone, some are like, your audience is barely engaged, but some you might get through to. And he asked me to tell the story, and I'm not sure if I can do that on a stage. And then a few life events happened. I wanted to do it on business. I could stand there all day and nail a business talk. That's what I wanted to do it on. But then things happened, and my brother passed, and he kind of hidden from this story all his life, or not his life, and denied it. And it felt like, actually, this story needs to be told, and I need to tell it as well.
So you did it for you, really?
I did it for me, yeah.
But to help other people?
No, not.
Somebody who works for me, works with me, Amber.
Yeah.
She watched it. She cried.
Yeah.
She's like, I cried watching that. She said, you need to watch this. It's brilliant.
Which is not what, because I looked up to the audience and people were crying and I was like, oh shit, that's not I want people to be inspired, not to be like.
She wasn't crying through sadness. She was crying through feeling heard, I think. When you meet people where they're at, it's a relief, isn't it?
Yeah.
For many of us, when someone meets you, like, this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
I had this conversation a while back with someone who's just sort of started talking about how they struggle being a dad. And I was like, hey, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And I was telling about all the things and the guilt sometimes I feel, because it's like, God, I feel like you get in my way, you lot, sometimes.
Yeah.
That's terrible to say, in my ambitions, and you admit it. And
you want to hear
like,
it,
oh
don't
my
you?
God, like, that's exactly what I've been feeling. I was like, yeah, I think that's natural.
Yeah.
Sometimes just someone articulating what you've struggled to articulate, when you hear it, you're like, oh my God, you feel heard. And
it does. It's
felt.
also, it's good to hear it, but then I felt very exposed. You feel like emotionally slutty. Is that a word? Like you are.
There's two, I think, technically.
But you also know that's how you connect with other people, is when they are really, really authentic about their stuff. Then so it's a
vulnerability creates trust all the time.
Yeah. And I am the queen of not being vulnerable. So that was 100%. Like you would not, that's just not where I've got to, is the exact polar opposite of what I did on that stage.
Can you be vulnerable in business though, do you think? As a female, because actually you're our first female guest.
I was wondering about that. I did watch a lot. I'm thinking, where's the females? What's the reason for that?
Just because I don't know many. But, people, like, we need really more females. It's like, okay, well.
Am I just filling the quota?
No, you're not. No, and that's also, this show is really about, I didn't want it to be like a traditional, come on, talk about your book for a sample. And we'll get in front of your book people. And, then I go home and it's like, I want to talk to people I want to talk to.
Yeah.
I don't like to do anything in
and you're not just doing it
that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
For the sake of, sometimes you have to do the shit you don't want to do. But so no, you're on here because I was like, I want to talk about fear. Because that's what your talk's about.
Yeah.
A little bit about trauma, isn't it? But it's mainly about a lot of fear.
I think that's the main theme of it. It touches on a lot of stuff, but fear is the big one.
Yeah. And I've got a little girl and I'm like, oh. As soon as I had my little girl, I was like, oh, I feel a shift in how I view women.
Yeah.
Not that I view them badly, but I'm like, oh, is she going to have to is she going to have to be stern to crack on? Is she, do you know what I mean? But
that's the perception. And you just touched upon it. You said in business, you won't be. I've never been vulnerable. I'd say I'd never been vulnerable till probably having my daughter and thinking, well, this is not a good example. You have to put on this really strong, and I'm hyper independent. Probably too much so. And that is probably the first time I've ventured into being, let's just, as an example really as well. And but you can be both, like with everything. You can be vulnerable and you can be super strong and hyper independent.
Yeah, maybe vulnerable is strength. But do you think, I suppose the question is, I'm just mining you for your female perspective now. Do you think you would have got as far you have in the business world without being as driven, and not driven, that's the wrong word. Like you said, not being vulnerable, being quite.
No, I think.
Do you have to operate a bit differently as a female in that world, is what I'm saying? Is that still what's happening?
You're talking to someone who one is in their has been in so much in their masculine for so many decades and is only really starting to step into the feminine part of who I am.
I love that language.
That's the start of a journey where I'm at. So, and I think the TED Talk was a vehicle in that. So I've always been on my masculine. I've worked in really male-dominated environments and loved it. I loved almost buzzed off the being different and being able to dominate in that industry, able to do so. Would I have got to in business as far as I don't know if I would. I'd like to think I would have done. Yeah. But I don't know if I would have done.
You're not like, oh yeah, definitely 100%.
No, I'm not sure. I certainly wouldn't have been able to. I believe you can, but the industry I operate now, and before I worked in the industry I'm in, I worked in football, which is also another.
Football?
Yeah, I worked for football clubs and selling.
What?
I've always done sales. So I've worked in very sort of archaic, old-fashioned, male-dominated industries. And I think that requires something other than vulnerability. Yeah. If I'm honest, I feel like you have to be one of the boys, and you have to. And I
you
quite
can handle
easily,
yourself, can't you?
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah,
you can handle yourself.
Yeah.
In a nice way. Yeah, but it's, I suppose.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, but you can. You're confident. You're certain in who you are. It shows when you're dealing with people. I can see it. I mean, Arjuna was on here a while back, and
who? Sorry,
Arjuna.
Okay.
Sorry, Mark was just doing this to me, and I don't know what was going on, like an alarm or something. But apparently, you didn't start my timer. Is what he's saying.
He's saying what? Sorry.
Yes. There's a timer behind you.
Okay.
Mark put that there in an effort to make me prompt, but it doesn't work. It may as well not be there, to be fair. It's like, it may as well not be there. But Arjuna is my friend. He's a monk.
I think I've watched one of those.
He's a bit like, we were chatting the other week, and he was like, sometimes people get caught up in the either or, don't they? You either have to be driven or masculine or feminine. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to, I kind of bounce between the two.
Sorry to interrupt. Is he named after a beach in India? Because I've stayed in Arjuna Beach, and it's a real meditation-y place. And I think, oh, wow,
I don't think he is, but if you're watching this, Arjuna, feel free.
Or is that Anjuna?
To come Anjuna.
Maybe it's Anjuna in Goa.
Or Arjuna.
It's a massive meditation. I just made a correlation in my head. Sorry, go on.
I like it. The connections. Arjuna. But yeah, we do have, like, it's not either or, is it? It's like, nah, you have to be masculine, or you must have got a bit of this in-depth psychology, possibly.
Yeah. Or like it's only because of that I'm stepping more into my feminine side. And I'll always lean towards more masculine. Because of the way I've raised, my conditioning, everything, I am more a masculine type person. But then it's embracing the other side as well, which is only come recently. It's only in the last few years.
Is it difficult?
Yeah. 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 Because you are what you naturally are as well.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Do you ever think sometimes online and that there is this kind of narrative that it's almost bad to be masculine if you're a female sometimes. Like, you've got to step into your femininity and, But actually, there's nothing wrong with having masculine traits, is there? Much like there's nothing wrong with a man having feminine traits. We touched upon that in the cafe. I was like, I'm quite an emotional kid.
We did.
I'm a bit of a lover, me.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a romantic.
Which I like.
An old-fashioned, I like romanticized things.
Yeah.
I like songs with good lyrics. I like songs about heartbreak. I don't know. I always drawn to me.
Yeah.
Like, I love all that stuff. We were talking about Meet the Fuckers.
Yeah.
I am definitely fuckerizing people.
Okay.
We fuckerized him. We fuckerized him. But I'm on that more than Jack Burns. Hello, I'm Jack Burns.
Yeah.
I'm more on that side of things. But I think we like to pigeonhole people, don't we? I don't mean there's nothing wrong with being a masculine.
And you're different things on different days and different times, and we're not all one thing all the time.
Served you though, isn't it?
Served me really well.
Yeah, until it doesn't. And I'm sure in certain areas it hasn't served you.
You are so right.
And it's just bouncing between the two.
Absolutely. Served me in pretty much 90% of my life, but then there's a small element it doesn't serve you in.
Yeah. Yeah, like all of us, isn't it? So, TED Talk.
Terrifying.
I got to be honest, fair play to you. What? Because if you never spoken, haven't they got strict rules as well? Isn't it like it must be 14 minutes, 24 seconds long, and you must have 4 paragraphs? It's like, fucking hell.
You can't say anything that's factually incorrect, science, or there's loads of little...
What was the process? Did you have to present it to them, or did you just rock up and speak?
There was like a year, and I nearly swore. You're allowed to say, no, I shouldn't.
You nearly what?
I nearly said, I did fuck all.
That's fine. You can swear on this show. You can do what you like. This isn't the TED Talk.
Okay.
This is Simon's Talks.
Okay.
Profanity and infactual stuff is allowed.
I try and, So a year before you meet up and you go into these, and all the talkers meet up, and then you talk about what you're going to talk about. And I went back and forth and I thought, you don't need months and months. I just meant for a bit of coffee, and thought, why are these people getting so prepared? And then it got 3 months before, and I'm like, oh, okay. Because you change it so many times. And the first time I did it was in front of 8 people, and I was almost hyperventilating, thinking, I can't believe I'm telling these people these things. How am I going to stand in front of an audience and do it when I don't know these people? And I was struggling to say it in front of them. And then I changed it again. And then Mark, who's been on, Mark Ellis, who's
Mark.
like, he's like a brother to me. So I lived with his family when I was younger, and he really encouraged me to go more. He said, if you're comfortable, why are you holding back? You're skirting around the issue. So it started out, I was in and out of care, and that's all I said. And he was like, are we missing out like so much? Just tell me more.
You're in that care?
Yeah, only like a few times when Mum was having troubles, we'd go in, come back. It wasn't for any length of time.
Yeah.
But that's the story I put in there, not the other bit. And then I went further. And then before I knew it, even the day before, I went further again. I was like,
You open Pandora's box now.
yeah.
It's all coming out.
I was like, shit. The only thing I did take out was about my brother, because I can't get emotional on a state. He died last year, and I thought, the other stuff's 40 years ago. I've had a lot of therapy. It's okay to talk about it.
You've kind of created an element of narrative and meaning.
Absolutely.
And you've had a chance to pull something from it, but your brother's raw,
I just
right?
took it out. I'm going to end up on stage here crying, so I took it out.
Yeah, that would be more about your therapy than delivering a talk, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Mark's got a nice little phrase, talking from the scar, not the wound.
Yes, that's great.
Sharing from the,
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, and that's what you did, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you basically, someone got you to do this, so like people need to hear it.
Yeah, someone asked me to do it. It was the guy who happened to be the licensee as well as the, excuse me, the Youth Crime Prevention Trust or something. And I've just dismissed whatever he does. He asked me to. He said, you should tell this story. But he didn't even know the full story. So he knew bits of it.
And you're going into these youth crime, you've been talking there more on a like inspirational level of like, hey, I've come through some stuff in my life and I'm here now. And
yeah,
it's possible there's different, is that where we're going?
I did it a couple of times. And that's the reason of the I've got no desire to I don't want to be a public speaker.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in every other element of my life, I will literally pimp myself out for business. Like I'll do lots of different things to raise the profile of my company. That sounded dodgy. Not in the way of it. So, I will do anything to raise the profile of NCM. I will, and I'll do that. This didn't seem very, I mentioned NCM, but it wasn't, and it wasn't for any other reason. I don't want to be a public speaker. I don't want to be, I just wanted, anybody who sees that and was me at that age, I think people see me and think, oh, she drives a car and she has great business and it's all success. Don't know the story under that. And I think I would want to hear that it was tough.
Yeah. And also you want to hear that it's possible to change your life.
Yeah.
I do have a lot of people, and the first step I think you got to get people over is for them to believe there is a possibility that things can be different. Otherwise, you're just half in. A bit like when you play football. When you play football, people say, don't dangle your foot in a tackle. You're going to get hurt. Do you know what I mean? Like you got to commit, and you've got to. That's how you don't get hurt. You got to
keep going.
Yeah,
go all in.
Commit 100%. And that's a little bit like change. Nothing happens unless you truly commit. But I think people need to hear stories where they go, yeah, I was kind of where you're at, and now I'm here, and this is what I've picked up along the way.
They just see, I think a lot of young people see glossy versions on Instagram and various, where you just see the end product, and nobody really gets to see what goes into that end product. And I think that's a shame, that I did it. I want to almost talking to my little Emma, because I'd want to see that. I'd want to see it because I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, no, what can you believe online now though? We talk about this a lot in this studio. It's like, can you believe much? It's all a bit of a fabrication. A lot, not all of it, but a lot of things online are fabricated to look a bit better than they are, seem a bit better than they are. It's because maybe the person's trying to do that because they want people to think it. Or
of course they do.
Yeah,
we all do it. I do it.
Gain out of it, but it's all going on, isn't it? But you've come a huge way.
Big, long journey.
What was the main point? I got some things I picked up from it because I know I said, I didn't really watch it, but I did watch it.
Did you?
Yeah, but I don't like watching too much. I know that sounds like counterintuitive, but I don't like to come here and go, well, I know everything about what you said. So,
but it's just the highlight, isn't it? And like it's 16 minutes long, and it talks about childhood, Australia, traveling, all these kind of things. And each one could have been an hour talk.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Each one is just a highlight. There's only so much you can fit in. So.
And the main point was fear, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was if you had to say, this is the point I'm trying to make about fear, what was it?
So most people who've ever met me would say I'm fearless and like I don't give a shit and I just go into and I've got no fear and do. But actually I was riddled with fear, but I would go into it anyway. And the more adept, like anything, the more you do something, the more comfortable you are with that feeling of feeling scared. Now I've been scared all my life. I'm quite adept at feeling fear.
Yeah.
But imagine doing those things and not realizing that actually it becomes normal to you. And then when you feel the fear and you go into it and it's for good intentions and for, I want to start this, I want to start business, or I want to do this, or you get used to that giddy feeling. It actually becomes a motivation. It actually becomes fuel for you to turn that around to something good. And at times in my life, I've been reckless with that, but it's still been my fuel, is feeling that fear. But I'd never tell anyone that. They'd just think I was fearless.
No one's fearless, are they?
No, absolutely not. I think everyone, you can't live life without not being scared.
I like the little element you had the two, so there's fear that's useful, that's good.
Yeah.
There's fear that's not so much.
Yeah.
What's the stuff that ain't so much useful?
Well, I still feel fear now for things that aren't actually happening now. Like I'm still reflecting. I still have fears that I have to almost in a microsecond go, that's a fear that I wasn't safe from when I was here. And it's not actually really happening now. So there's lots of fears that you feel, well, I guess it's called anxiety, isn't it? It's thoughts that aren't actually happening now, and you have irrational, and intrusive and totally justified, by the way. If you've experienced all of that, my go-to reaction in my own brain is something of everyone's out to get me, is a massive thing. Like everyone's against this, everyone's out to get me. I'm now, because I've done so much therapy, I've trained it to instantly go, and that's wrong. Okay,
you're aware of it. And that was a big fear for you. Everyone's out to get me.
100, the world was out to get me.
Yeah. Ben shared that on here, actually. As he shared a story, I'm pretty sure in one of the past episodes, where he was like, when he first sort of got a job in a way after his previous endeavors in life, he thought like people being nice to him, he was like, what the fuck do you want?
Yeah.
What they're stabbing me in the back somewhere. He was talking about it. And I was like, man, that's
I related to him with his victim, because I feel like I was a victim. But you should feel, look, hell, if you've gone through a lot of crap, the world was out to get, if you were in environments like that, the world was out to get. It's the justified way to think.
Yeah.
But it's hard to then train yourself to think another way and go, actually,
is this useful now?
Yeah. Is it serving me?
Yeah.
And is it true? Is it true?
Bit of Byron Katie. She's a bit of what, sorry? Bit of Byron Katie. She's very much like, is that, is it true?
Does it help or hinder?
Yeah. I like the look at fear. We talk about this a lot in some of our early old coaching we did, where it's like there's kind of irrational fears and, or rational fears, should we say, where it keeps you alive. Rational fears, like that's actually something really to be scared of.
Gut instinct.
And this fuel is going to help you stay alive, so to speak. Life or death keeps you alive. But irrational stuff, like, stops you from living.
Yeah.
It's like oh my God, what happens if I balls it up? Or what if I look stupid? Or what if they don't like me? What if I'm rejected? It's all these irrational fears we have all the time. What if I lose everything? What if I do that and God, I lose everything?
But everyone has them, don't they? There's not a person who doesn't feel like that.
I don't think so. I know I have them a lot. I have a big fear of being myself on even on something like this.
Really? See, I'm saying everyone, I know that's true, but then you're like shocked when somebody shares that with you and goes, "Can you not look like the type of person who's scared of being authentic?"
I think in the past, I may have I think we're trying to protect ourselves a lot. I think clothes are a form of protection. I often wondered if my beard is kind of a form of protection. I don't want to think about it too deeply.
It's interesting that you said, because I always think that as well. It's like barrier.
And I think sometimes maybe I was like, I really don't give a shit. So I'm going to portray that I don't give a shit attitude. But maybe that's a form of protection because actually I really give a shit. So maybe if I don't try so much, and that's a protection mechanism from actually trying. I know that's probably like, what the fuck is he on about?
Yeah.
But can you see, I think showing up as myself has been, because especially when you think, well, everyone does it this way. So this show is like, well, everyone does it this way. There's a podcast formula, isn't there?
Yeah.
You come on, you haven't written a book, but when you do, you come on
Which
here
I will.
and you'll say, oh, here's my 7-step process for overcoming the fear. And I'll be like, oh, okay, and we'll chat about it. And I'll ask you some questions and then you'll answer them and we'll keep to the script and then you'll go. And then I'll be like, and that's how you launch. And you pay some celebrities and you get this podcast. So I don't really want to do it like that. Do you know what I mean? Like I was a bit like,
Can I be honest with you?
Go on, yeah.
I watched I watched Mark because he's like a brother and I wanted to see them. And I was like, oh, this podcast is not like, because what didn't gel in my head is what a podcast should be.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it is in you. And don't know you, never met you. Be quiet a minute. Let me listen to him, ask him some questions. Then I watched them all. And I'm like, shit, this guy's got stuff to say. But it took a few because it wasn't following the formulaic, is that a word? The way that a normal podcast I've seen was going. Yeah. And it wasn't until I watched a few, it was like, oh, it's a conversation. It's much more, it's not following the same formula.
Yeah. So who wasn't saying much, me or them?
No, Mark wasn't saying as much as I wanted him to, and you were talking.
Yeah.
And because I'm invested in Mark, I know him, I wanted to hear him. I was like, oh, shut up, let me listen to him. And then I watch a few more and I'm like, shit, this guy's got something to say. But initially I didn't think that.
Yeah, no.
That wasn't my first.
It's a common thing. People expect you to. I actually had this thing with Mark. I was like, right, Mark, yeah, we can run this 2 ways. We can either get some people on and I can pay for them to get as much exposure as possible and say fuck all.
If they're getting paid, I want to be paid.
Or I can actually talk.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to talk a lot because I
got some good stuff. Why not?
I want to share some stuff, but only when it's relevant. There's been some where you go, God, I didn't talk all that, did I?
Yeah.
You know, you can see on the sound bar. It's like, oh, bit here, bit there. Yeah. But no, and again, you think, well, what are people going to think?
No, you need to, because the ones that, like, you've got something to say and you should be talking.
Yeah. Well, thank you. But it's like, that was the initial thing. Like, what are people going to think about this? Because a lot of people did say, well, you talk a lot on it. You're like, yeah, I know. Well, don't you want them to talk? It's like, well, yeah.
But it's conversation. I think that's the bit that sets it apart. That's good because it's much more conversational. It's not
an interview. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a interview. It's a back and forth. It should be based on a pub. That's what's called Wisdom on Tap. If we went to a pub, I wouldn't sit there and go,
see the link.
So I don't sit at the bar on a Friday night and go,
Tell me about
where you been? Tell me. And how was that?
Yeah.
I'm going to have a conversation with you.
I love the Wisdom on Tap. I just got it.
You just got it?
I'm great in a pub as well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Next one's going to be in a pub.
Love a pub.
What do you drink?
Well, I've gone through all gamuts of drinks. I used to be a Jack Daniels. I started my drinking career on Stella on a Saturday in the Tut and Shive, which was
Other pubs are available, aren't they, Mark? Yeah, okay.
And drink pints. And I think, how did I drink pints? Then
You're quite slight, aren't you? You're quite slight.
Yeah, but I wasn't always slight.
You're drinking the old pints,
yeah, I wasn't always slight. Yeah, you had to drink pints and you had to, on a Saturday afternoon, I had down pints and then later on to Jack Daniels. And then I realised at a much later age, I couldn't drink any of these drinks. And even wine. Used to love a wine, got really into wine.
Champagne girl now, aren't you?
Yeah.
I knew it.
I was trying to justify.
I knew it. She's like, no, I've not always been on the champagne. I mean, I used to drink pints. Stella, of all things. Look at me. What do you drink now? Champagne.
Prosecco. Look at the body language change.
In fact, I had some this morning. Pick on me.
Oh God.
What am I drinking though? Ale.
Yeah, I thought you'd be a craft beer kind of
craft beer. There you
look like a
I look like a craft beer.
You definitely look like a craft beer.
The logo actually looks like a craft beer for Wisdom on Tap.
It does look like it.
I think we should actually have a beer.
I'd love a beer.
I didn't mean now. Yeah. I meant I think we should own a beer.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I want to go into a pub and go, I'll have a pint of that Wisdom on Tap, please.
Well, I can sort out some brewery equipment because I've got a brewery on for sale at the moment. So we could easily make that happen.
I think we should.
We could easily
make a pub, Mark.
Maybe
this is what I'm going to do. I should be a publican.
Yeah.
That's what I should do. I should open a chain of pubs.
And do the podcast in a pub.
Do podcasts and beer. I would serve food.
Kit it out.
But I would probably serve like pub food. I won't be a restaurant. My big bugbear is when pubs turn their pubs into restaurants.
What, like gastro?
And the bar gets smaller and smaller. Yeah. And you're like, hang on, where's the bar?
There's very few bars. Yeah.
Why can't I just stand in the bar and enjoy my Friday?
Why do you have to eat?
Yeah, why are you like making me like sit at a table? I want to stand at the bar and converse with the locals. You know, that's what I want to do. Maybe that's the pub I'll open.
Yeah.
Mark's going to open a cafe.
Cafe.
You got loads of work out of us too.
I know. Cafe equipment.
It's
I've got cafe equipment. Bar
Back
equipment.
to your TED Talk, deflector. Back to your TED Talk. Fear. What's been the biggest fear you've had to overcome? If you don't mind me asking.
It's a great question. I think it would be becoming a mum. I think I was absolutely petrified. And that manifested itself in the first year after she was born, just overwhelmed by fear of not being good enough, which I think, by the way, every mum feels and every parent feels. But I think possibly mine was amplified because of my life before it. And now I know I'm a good mum.
How old were you when you became a mum?
40 years old.
Yeah.
I had to have all the ducks in a row. So for me...
That's because most people would say that's quite old, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it was. I was geriatric mum, as they called it, a geriatric.
I don't want to ask how old your daughter is now, because then I know your age, won't I? But...
Well, she's 6.5, but that doesn't make sense, because I was 40 and I'm 48 now. So how does that
maybe
make...
she's 8. She 8?
How does that make sense? I'm not really good. Like, let me tell you this before I go into... I'm really rubbish at dates and times, and I can say, oh, that was 3 years ago and it was last week, or this was this, and it sounds like I'm lying. I just haven't got no... I'm sure there's
I don't think you're lying.
Yeah, I've got no concept. But she is 6.5 and I was 40 and I'm 48. So...
There you go. And it's, at the time, scariest thing.
Absolutely
Did you always want a kid? Or
Yeah, I did, but I didn't... I wanted all my... ducks in a row. I wanted the main thing for me, what I thought was the main thing, was having money. I didn't ever want to grow up poor. So I needed to make sure I had, and I wasn't where I wanted to be, but she had to have a different, well, I didn't know it was a she at the time. My child had to have a different life to what I'd had. And then I had her and realised that means fuck all. And actually what she needed was an emotionally state. Do you know what I mean? That wasn't the be all and end all, but to me in my head that was... And then I had her and realised that I had a lot of shit that I'd not dealt with, or I thought I dealt with. And that all came just tumbling down upon me when I had her, and the enormity of how can I parent if I haven't dealt with a lot of my stuff.
And that's all of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to parent while dealing with our own. And we have to, I like what you said with the... It's funny how you'd gone, right, my child needs a different life. Financial stability.
That's always been my North Star.
Yeah.
Until recently. That to me was everything will be okay.
Because you didn't have that.
Yeah. Everything will be okay if I just, and it's not.
No, you realise
for
you it was more actually, she needs some emotional stability around her. It is scary being a child, being a parent, because it's scary being a child probably. You just don't want to fuck them up, do you?
And you will. We all will.
Yes,
but you just want to do it in the smallest way possible. There's not a child that's going to... And you're never going to raise someone who's not been affected by your parenting and at some point thinks you're a dick. It's just not going to happen. But I want to do that in the smallest possible ways I can.
Yeah.
Not in these enormous ways that haunt her and her children's children. If I could go back now, I'd have done it 4 or 5 times. I regret waiting as long as I did.
Isn't it mad we put things off like that though?
Yeah.
We're never ready, are we?
No.
Never ready.
No,
Not
and
ready.
the fear of doing it.
When are we going to be ready? Someone said to me, you'll never be ready.
Yeah.
Imagine in business though, you'd be pull the trigger on things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that weird how in business you can pull the trigger?
Yeah.
And you probably have made a lot of your success by speed of decision, setback, failure, adjust.
Go in when you're not ready. Go in when it's a joke.
Come on, we'll figure this out. We got to
we'll figure it out on the way.
Kids were like, whoa.
Yes.
Just got to get me ducks lined up first.
Everything's got to be right.
Get them perfect. Mm-hmm. But it's a shit show, isn't it? I'm just putting it out there. I think it's a shit show being a parent. Not shit show as in it's just, you can't ever future pace what it's going to be like.
No one can tell you what you're going to feel and how you're going to feel, this enormity of what you're feeling and the responsibility that you feel. And
that's the word, responsibility.
I never had any responsibility. I'm I was a reckless free spirit, and I didn't realise that until I had a child. Reckless? I think that's a bit derogatory.
Maybe not reckless.
I was quite reckless though. for many years.
So were you reckless?
I was very reckless.
Now we're back in therapy, me and you together. And were you reckless?
Very reckless.
Tell me some occasions you felt you were reckless.
I thought you were actually genuinely.
No, we'll cover that later.
Yeah, no. Parenting it's like the biggest inflection point in your life, isn't it?
Don't know, is it?
For me, it was.
Yeah, I can see that. It's funny because I was saying, my little boy went to school yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous for him, so scared for him. Like scared. You're like, God, I haven't felt scared.
Yeah. Because there's a part of you, isn't it? You're seeing you doing that, and then he's part of you, and you want it to please be nice to him. Please be. It's like going when they first go in nursery, and you're like overly nice to all the carers because please be nice to my kid.
It's that concern.
Yeah.
If I'm nice to you, you will definitely treat my son well.
Sorry. I think it's that. But of course you should feel like that. It's natural to feel like that about him. How was your missus? I didn't ask you that. How was she?
She's normally fine about stuff like that.
But was she emotional?
She was a bit yesterday. She'd be like, that it got to her. But normally, I dropped off for his trial day and I was like, oh my God, he didn't know anyone. And they led him off and he sort of looked around, gave me that little look as if to say, am I right? He's like, yeah. And he walked off and I thought, into this room. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh. I got in the car, I cried.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck this. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
I just felt so emotional about it. I had some tears. You think I was like, why am I getting emotional? They have parents like, bye, Timmy.
Yeah.
I was like,
skipping off.
And I was like, oh, maybe I should. But the thing is, for years, I went, maybe he won't go to school. Maybe I'll just homeschool him, get him homeschooled.
Really?
Yeah.
You brave.
Well, it was more just to avoid the fear I had, the discomfort of sending him off, wasn't it?
Were you bullied at school?
No.
Did you have a terrible time?
No, I just didn't. I just didn't like school, and I think I was always quite an anxious little kid who didn't like leaving my mum or anything like that.
So you're projecting that on?
I'm projecting that onto him.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. It came up yesterday. So what was your first day like? Good. What'd you do? We had meatballs. I said, oh, nice. And there's this girl called Jessie, and she can pick up big kids, and she's only 4. Wonderful. Show me that's just what I got out of him. And you had the best day ever.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm glad you enjoyed that. You have meatballs and you've met a girl called Jessie who can pick up kids because she's 4, you're only 4.
Brilliant.
And he sung a hedgehog song, but it's definitely projection. But how often are we all projecting our past, and our fears and our traumas from the micro to the macro onto the people we care about?
Mm-hmm. We have to be mindful of it, don't we?
Well, it's happening whatever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jung always says the biggest shadow someone deals with is the shadow of their their parents' unlived life.
Yeah.
And that's why we parent in certain ways, isn't it? You're like, what we don't have as kids, we think I must provide that. Mm-hmm. That's my unlived life. I'm going to. Yeah. And they have to deal with that, our little. But I've said this to Ben in the coffee shop. You kind of broke the patterns of your own family, didn't you?
Yeah, well, he's talking about one of my greatest fears. I think that's my greatest achievement, and I'm not there yet. I am there in terms of generations, but yeah, that's the greatest thing I've ever done is change that trajectory of hundreds and hundreds of years of generations of addicts and early deaths and trauma and abuse and all these things that have gone off quite heavily for generation after generation. Is that I think Marlo will never know such adversity, which is another thing we'll hopefully talk about, because I think that's required to grow for kids. But she'll never experience, and her kids won't, and her kids won't. And I'm proud of that. I think that's...
Yeah. It's not adversity, it's probably unnecessary pain.
Unnecessary pain, yeah. But you've got to build a spine. As you were talking then, I was thinking about is Ari going into there, is that actually that's building a spine. I remember my therapist said this to me about, you want to protect him. And it was like, do you want her to have a spine? And I'm like, and then suddenly my back went straight and I went, yes, I do. I don't want her to be. And different things that are lodged in your way about actually building this in a kid is important, but you just want to give them a cuddle and take it all away. But actually giving them a spine is not.
Yeah.
So you've got to weigh that of not being what...
That's the hard thing. It's knowing, well, I've got to let you stand on your own 2 feet because that's how you get stronger.
Yeah.
but it's our need, it's our pain we don't like. It's our discomfort.
We're cuddling our little self.
Yeah,
We're
and even
them.
now, I'm like, I will not send you to school because that eases my discomfort.
Yeah.
It doesn't help you. Eases my discomfort right now.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing, isn't it? But we think we're being selfless by doing stuff, but very often it's the selfish need right now to take away our own discomfort that stops us allowing them to do it, isn't it?
And I think it's easy to do that. Now, like yesterday with Ari, you're okay to do that and think in situations like that. But the moment a real challenge, because you can see, actually, that's me. But I think the challenge comes if Marlo came and said she was getting bullied or there was something, it would be very hard to then get curious about that and go, oh, this is just me projecting and I'm going to kill him. Do you know?
I just had an insight into your therapy session right there. Oh, get curious about them and fucking projection. Yeah, I know the shit. Someone's bullying my kid. I'll fuck them up.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So it's in those moments that I'll be truly tested is, can I be that person? It's easy to do it in every day, but it's not as easy to do it when you're challenged and I want to take another parent on.
Yeah, your kid.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something.
And the child as well.
Yeah. No, it is difficult. But freedom of experience, you touched upon that. You've obviously, in your TED talk, you talk about this. You had a lot of trauma, didn't you? Mm-hmm. And it's worth touching upon. You don't have to delve into that. But you had a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
So you've had to process all of that.
And very recently as well. So I only processed it at 36 was when I first went for therapy. So I only...
Are we sure on that? Or was it probably 32 knowing you?
You know what?
It wasn't.
It was when I had Marlo and I was 40. So 36 was when I started NCM. It's 40.
You can't trust a word this woman says.
There's a word for it. It's like, dyslexia for
I was about to
days.
say, with numbers,
there's
I know.
something, but yeah, that's a
I'm
perfect
teasing
example.
you. So you had to start processing that not longer. What is a long time ago? 8 years?
I've just turned 48, so let's just say 47.
47.
Let's get that date wrong on purpose.
7 years. 7 years
ago. And even then, it wasn't the first year. Like I feel like I only really grieved and processed or even said the word abuse and neglect at 42 years old. So you go your whole life telling yourself this story to protect the inner child all my life. And then at 42, it's
a coping mechanism, isn't it?
I'm suddenly saying it out loud and dealing with it. And so it feels like very new.
And then you did a bloody TED talk. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty extreme, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm dealing with the shit I've dealt with it. Right, TED talk.
Yeah.
I'll get it out.
Yeah, kind of like, not kind of like that.
Let's just tell everyone now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You lost your mum.
Yep.
Young.
Very young, 7 years old, 7.5.
It's mad.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
You're 3.5 years older than mine.
Yeah, and it's hard. That's the other thing. You're looking at children now. You're surrounded by them going, wow.
You were, yeah.
Yeah, they're very vulnerable.
It's no wonder, like you said, and then what from there?
From there, I went to, so my brother was a year older than me. And we went to, initially to, well, we went into, we were living in Skegness, so we went into care for maybe a couple of days into foster care. And then we came back to Doncaster to my grandma and granddad's. I love my granddad, like amazing man.
How was he?
He died 20, probably 30 years ago. Who knows?
Who knows?
Pick a decade.
We just know he's died.
He's died. Sorry. Yeah. And then we went there for a couple of years. Well, not a couple of years. We were there, and they had a big family, so there was 11 of them. So 11 aunties and uncles. My mum was the middle, so she was one of 11 aunties and uncles. And most of those had moved out and were older, but some were still at home. So we went to my grandma and granddad's. And I was there for 6 years, or 7 years. I ran away when I was 15. So I eventually left, not because of my granddad. My granddad was like I can't even talk about him highly enough. He taught me everything I know. But the house was chaotic. And there was also abuse in that house, which was probably, in retrospect, far worse than some of the abuse of when I was younger.
Well, when you were younger, yeah.
So I ran away and left.
Where'd you run away at 15?
Oh, well, initially I went to various places. I went and stayed I was working on the market. It's called Homeboy.
I'm trying to imagine you working on a market.
I loved working on a market. 5 jeans for £10. I used to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning, go to Thorsby Market. So I was the best jean seller in the north. And I went to a shop, a designer clothes shop, and the woman who owned the shop, called Kathy, became a really good friend. She initially let me stay with her, but I was 15. I was on the precipice of being 16 when you're allowed to. So she was going to get in trouble, and I went like to different houses. And eventually I hit 16 and they let me live on my own. So I'd lived in a bedsit in Hyde Park, which is a dodgy area in town. And I lived in this bedsit for maybe about a year. And then Mark, who you've had on, Mark Ellis, I'm best friends with his sister, and Mary and John. Marlowe's middle name is named after Mary and her grandma. And I went to live with them for a year. So I lived with them.
How old were you then?
I think I had my 18th birthday then. So I was 17. So I was there for about a year. And then before my birthday, I went to Norway then. I went to be an au pair for a family.
How long were you an au pair for? I'm enjoying it because I've almost had the end before this podcast. We were sat and we almost had the end.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, why did she get there? And now I'm like, oh right.
I was an au pair for probably 8 months, and I said it in the tech. I was a really shit au pair. I've grown up in Donny, and I'd never seen, like, I remember the first day or the first week, they told me to go downstairs and cook this fish. And the fridge, you walked into it. I've come from this council estate, and I've never gutted a fish. Do you know what I mean? I've only eaten fish.
How did you get the job?
I blagged it. The family who I'd worked for on the market, they said I'd looked after all the kids. I'd never looked after the kids. I'd never been around.
You just going with it. Yeah, brilliant. Me with these kids.
So I had...
Got a fish me.
Yeah.
Instant. Yeah.
Just blagged it.
In fact, fish on my CV, it says you're a fish chef. Yes, I am. Yeah. I did a couple of years in fish restaurant. So
I ended up, so got a fish and look after these 3 kids. And I managed to blag my way through, and I like the kids, but there's a lot of stuff that I'd never been exposed to, like a normal family. Luckily,
that must have been difficult though.
It was and it wasn't. I would say Kia and Mark's, Mary and John, who I lived with that year, and also the 8 months in Norway were just pivotal in my development. Because if I'd never have seen that, there's a great James song. James was the first band I went to see as a kid with Kia. But Sit Down, and it says, if I'd never seen sort of riches, I could live with being poor. Now, if I'd never seen Kia and Mark's house and I'd never seen Norway, I would never know a different path. I would never know a different way to live that families lived, or that, do you know what I mean? And that was a real pivotal moment for me to go, shit, I want to live in houses like this.
And have a unit.
Even though I struggled in it.
Unit.
Even though I struggled in it and I was like a fish out of water, and I was probably looking back terrible in those environments, I knew I wanted it. I wanted to be in that. That's what I wanted, not what I come from.
I like that. Dave Watson was talking about that on a previous episode.
Was he?
He said he was talking about his going in and out of care.
Yeah.
And he's like, my wife, she's just got a normal family.
Yeah.
Just normal. Like, I've never seen a normal family unit. You know, and he'd never seen it, never experienced it.
But if you never, and I think if you don't plonk those experiences in those formative years, 16 to 18 is quite a key. If I'd not have seen that, because then I went back to living in bedsits.
You had a new reference, didn't you, I think?
I had a point. Yeah.
Like, okay, this is, people live like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't all live like this.
Absolutely.
They live like this.
It's the same with growing business, things like that. You see something and you go, I want that as well. I can do all that. I've seen these things. And it's the song, if I'd never seen such riches, I could live with being poor. And if you don't expose yourself to different experiences and different family lives and different environments, you don't know any different.
That's very profound.
Am I talking too much? I feel like I'm talking too much.
No, you're not talking too much at all.
Because it's more conversational.
You can't talk too much. You can only talk too much shit.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like writing. You can't write, nothing can be too long, only too boring.
Yeah.
Too irrelevant. That's wonderfully relevant. You actually made me think. You stopped me in my tracks. I was thinking about that lyric and thinking...
I love James. Great band.
All the music I love, I've never heard of James.
You will have done. How can... Get out. I'm doing this podcast. How can you not have heard of James?
What did they sing?
Come home. I'm going to start. I'm a shit singer. Come home. Oh, sit down. Sit down.
Yeah. Got 'em.
Sit down next to me.
Got 'em. Is that all they did?
No, they did loads of songs. Brilliant band. Mark, have you heard of James? Of course you have. Brilliant band. Yeah, I was very into indie music. I was into indie and then rave music.
I've got this picture of you now. You're on the flipping market stalls listening to James, aren't you?
Well, no, by that point I was a raver.
You were raving.
I loved indie. I've always loved indie music. So the Manchester music, my brother was into the more sweaty stuff.
Did you get tickets?
No, I didn't. And I spent far too long on looking for them. But they weren't really that then. It was Stone Roses, it was Cud, it was James.
You're before Oasis.
Before Oasis, yeah. I'm a bit older. Yeah. And then Raven, which was a big part of my life.
I think what you said though about being exposed to new experiences, I think that's brilliant for everybody. Not just the useful, but the uncomfortable. You were talking about that, weren't you? You can't keep everyone locked away in their little safety net. I think we do that a lot with kids now. Just people that, kids have got a lot of mental health issues these days. Is it phones? Is it this? I think a lot of it is we struggle to let them experience any form of hardship or struggle. And I was just following a chap online. He's like, when his kids get to 16, they have to go on like a 2-day on their own quest. They go off. On their own.
Sorry to interrupt. Have you seen the one on Netflix with the Japanese kids where it's that's part of their culture where they send them out at 5 to the shop and they have to get their way across, watch it. I can't remember the name of it, but this is like a hazing thing for infants.
Hazing?
Like they haze you in American colleges to embed you.
Yeah.
Might be wrong here, but it's the similar concept to what you were saying. At like 5 years old, they give them money and they have to walk a mile to a shop at 5.
Wow. You would do that in Doncaster, would you? Or anywhere. You'd be like,
watch one episode of it, because I'm like watching it like that. It's terrible to watch and it's a similar thing.
God, yeah.
But I get the concept of it.
Yeah.
It's like you're giving them a spine.
Yeah, but I think a lot of anxiety in kids is literally a lot of overstimulation, but also a bit like, if you're always robbing people, if every time someone, I was going to pick that up as if that's somebody, every time someone feels uncomfortable and you take that away, you're teaching them that discomfort is something to be afraid of. Now that is not good for anyone, is it?
No, I haven't nailed that. Teach me how, when, because it's really hard to do.
Oh, well, I think we all struggle. It's easy when you've got not so much of an emotional attachment to the individual. Yeah, it's like, you're going to have to experience that. But it's hard when you are like, when you're sad. I think it's that element of overcare where you're like, I care so much about you. My own happiness and self-worth is so interconnected to you that I have to keep you here to keep me here.
Yeah.
You know, it's
interplay.
When I create this thing where I care so much that my care doesn't really help you, and it's certainly not helping me. It's that I would like the balance of overcare. What do we call that? I learned that with the Heart Math Institute. Actually, it's like
at the where? Sorry,
the Heart Math Institute. So it's like if you care too much, because you can't care too much. Like, well, you can, can't you? You can care so much, you stifle another human being. Or you control them.
And control the environments they're in and what they do, what they see, what they read.
Experience.
Yeah.
And so you like, think of a relationship where someone actually does care and loves somebody, but it bleeds into I'm controlling you now because I'm so scared that you won't love me. Like a lot of that is actually overcare. It's this over kind of care which creates this connection of my happiness is attached to your behavior.
Yeah.
So to speak.
And you think of your strength, anybody you've met who has any kind of grit or resilience in them, it's because they've gone through lots of adversities to get there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'll do some studies in the future on, when I was doing the prep for the TED Talk, looking at people who've gone through things in their childhood, I think they either go one way or the other.
100%.
I don't think there's any in between for somebody. I think there's no in between. I have a lot of friends and they're like you're almost, and I like that, they're content with different lives. And then you're always striving for either something more or you really don't give a shit. And I don't think there's anything in the middle. So we have to be, I think of that often with Marlo, is that she's got to encounter someone. Where's she going to get some great resilience from? She's not going to.
Got to allow her own experience.
Yeah.
I think that's got to allow everyone. If you allow someone the freedom to have their own experience.
And to fail. Allow them to fail.
Yeah. And not fix everything.
Yeah.
But I think allowing somebody to have the freedom of their own experience is one of the most brilliant things you can do for anyone. It's like, people will say to me, oh God, your kids, they're going to be so drilled in personal development. You're like, no, they're not.
Yeah. You're not pushing that.
They're going to be who they want to be.
Marla's going to be an auctioneer. No, she's not.
They're going to be who they want to be. So I'm not going to force them. I'm going to, hopefully they'll look at my dad. He meditates and he does this and he does that. Maybe I might do that.
They're going to be more. I would imagine that they're going to be more well-rounded in that than most. They're on
but not through like you're doing this.
But it's an example.
Yeah. Hopefully that I've normalized. Like, what's your dad doing? Meditating and training and doing all this stuff. It's like, wow, he hopefully will feel,
you're modeling.
That's normal.
You're modeling that behavior. And what do kids do? They repeat what's modeled to them.
Yeah, without a doubt. But I think allowing people to be who they are is like, it's not often that done, I don't think, anymore. It's like we want to tell people how they should think, what they should believe, what's right, what's wrong. I think you've got to make your own mind up on that, haven't you? You can't be forcing it down people's necks.
No. I was a bit
necks? Throats.
Where
do you force it down them? I don't know Mark's even listening. He's nodded off. He was my fact checker. But he's not.
Does he do the TED Talk checking when you're not allowed to say
he actually, when you get off, you go, actually, you had your daughter in when you were. I've just found it. He brings it up on the screen.
Oh, God,
there's a picture of them. Like the Joe Rogan show. Bloody Joe. So, yeah, I think, and dealing through trauma, we pass it. It's not impossible not to pass trauma on.
Absolutely.
I love David Eagleman. David Eagleman's like, you've got very little control in what you think, trust me. And the fact it's an illusion that you think you have so much control, the way the mind works. But we're doing it so unconsciously, aren't we? Is that what hit you when you had a kid?
Well, you just...
What was your moment where you went? Because you said, I had a kid and I was like, oh my God, I have to sort this shit out.
Well, I'd already had a moment before then. I want to say this before we move on. You said about your children not seeing, or what you're essentially doing. It's not about teaching them to do something. Oh God, I've lost my point in my head. It was about modelling. You said a brilliant point and I wanted to add to it. Anyway, forget it.
Hopefully they'll see and normalize it.
Hopefully they'll see and normalize it. So you're not projecting onto you. You're just trying to better you, so they see you bettering you. That's what you're doing. Hopefully. So you're not necessarily going. They need to see actually all he's trying to do is better himself. That's all my dad's trying to do, because that's as important that they see you doing that than trying to better them, more so than bettering them.
That's a massive point.
So it's not about that. It's not about it pushing their development. It's about you seeing you improving. It's that old
wanting them to, trying to right. I'm going to improve you.
Yeah,
that's what people hear. I think when
they see you doing all this, they see you improving yourself. They see you trying to push yourself.
Improve themselves.
Yeah. So it's not that you're doing it's not this. It's like dad's always trying to improve. That's modeling that to them as well.
Yeah,
it's a good job.
It's the principle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is the principle. I'll tell you what though, my little boy sent him to nursery. His legs were black and blue because he wanted to ride his bike.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm a big fan of like I said,
fall over.
Just you're gonna have to learn, mate.
Yeah.
But he was like, oh no, you do not help me, Daddy. What do you mean don't help you? I'm gonna have to hold on. No, I don't want you to hold on.
Good.
Don't touch my seat. Honestly. The smash, crying, throwing his bike and his legs.
It's a perfect example.
I just looked at him about 2 weeks later. I was like, look at his legs.
Perfect example.
Like, what are we doing? Like, he is black and blue, his legs. But he can ride his bike.
But how do you learn? Yeah.
He can ride it. He's smashing it around at 4. But there's no like, oh my God, I hope he's not he's got some kind of weird thing going on there. Like, don't help me. It's like, no, I'm allowed to help. That's okay. You know, it's good to get help. No, don't touch my bike. So focused on it every day. He wanted to ride his bike.
Brilliant. I love that.
But we do model. Is that what scared you then when you had a kid? You said, I did have a moment, but then I had another moment.
Yeah, I think I was scared of, what were we on about? Biggest fear or?
When you had your girl, you were like, oh shit. You had this moment, but signs where you went, I need to do something, or like I've got to deal with some shit. You said you started dealing with your shit after you had a...
I started dealing with this. I think we all it's easy to look back and go, oh God, there's several moments that were like, I had a fuck it moment when I started NCM where like life was at its worst. And I was like, this is I ain't going out like this. Something's changing. And I started a business. That was and I remember where I was on town fields. I've been partying a lot. I've been doing a lot of stuff. I'd lost my job. My dad had just died. My relationship I was meant to get married, broken down. Like literally the worst. And there was a moment I'm sat on writing. It was a really sunny day. And I was like, fuck this.
I love that. The fuck this moment.
Fuck this moment. And I'm doing something different. And I do genuinely believe that if I'd have started selling Avon, I would have been the world's best Avon seller.
I've got no doubt. Like after watching you talk to Mark, you could sell anything.
But I would have done. It was that moment. There was literally a decision in my head because I'd always had good sales jobs, but I was shit with money, and I was just wasteful and reckless. I didn't really have any direction, but I'd always had pretty decent jobs. I got to a level where I had a decent job, but there was never really any. And then it was that moment in time, and all these terrible things that happened in a really short space of time. And also, I think death is a real like, what's it all for? Am I going to do it now or never? So that's a moment. Marlowe was another moment where I'm like, okay, you did that where you changed the superficials, right? But then that was the emotional inflection point. What was like, shit, you have to deal with this now. You can't lie to this story that you tell yourself that you're invincible and I'm hyper independent and I don't need anyone and that didn't happen and it's not possible.
I see that a lot in business where people are super successful and independent, maybe because they've never had somebody to help them.
Yeah, but that's not a good thing either. Hyper independence, I'm learning to be less hyper independent. I used to wear that as a badge of honor.
Yeah, like, well, look at me. I've
done everything myself.
Yeah, and then it does affect relationships.
Terrible for relationships. Terrible for romantic relationships.
Yeah. I actually shared this a while back. A similar thing on it was a podcast maybe a couple of years ago where I was like, I think in personal development, I came to believe that I didn't need anyone to make me feel anything.
Really?
And so because I could just feel how I wanted to feel and I didn't need anyone.
In personal development, what do you mean? Tell me.
In developing yourself, there's this, nobody can make you feel certain ways. You know, you're in control of how you feel. And everything you need is within you. And I think I was
that's true, isn't it?
Yeah, I used it as a form of like, I don't need anyone.
Right.
It made me quite selfish.
Right.
And I think I'd disconnected from people because I didn't need anyone. But I actually think, no, it's really good.
That's misconstrued though. It's the reaction you have, isn't it, to them, not them themselves.
But I think personal development is so insular on times. You work on yourself so much, you forget, there's these other people in my life.
Off topic, do you think that there's people in that arena, in the self-help arena, because you clearly have worked on yourself a lot to get to that. And I want the person, it's like if I go to a shit nail salon and the woman's got terrible nails, I don't want her doing my nails. I don't want the person who's got bad, like all those things in every area. I want the person who's coach to be like really done his work.
Yeah.
How many people in that industry have done it? Like, I just think that's a natural progression that you do your work and then you go, shit, I want to help people. Is that normal? Are they all like you?
Yeah, not as charming as me, I don't think.
Not as well dressed. Not as.
They don't wear as eclectic jumpers. God, that's a good question.
Is it a precursor? What I'm saying is it a precursor to becoming a whatever it is? I don't know what to name you. Self.
I think it should be.
I do.
Whether or not it is open.
But I would check that. I'm a researcher. Like, I would check out anyone before I hired them. I'd want to know, right, what have you done on you? Like, I want to know that.
I think.
Does anyone ask you that when they hire you?
Very rarely, to be quite frank. I think, how would I sum this up? Sometimes people say to you stuff like, I need somebody who gets what I've been through. I need somebody who's where I'm at now. And it's like, no, you don't need that. You don't need somebody who's in the shit with you. You need somebody who's not in the shit.
You don't want to wallow with you.
Yeah.
Make you feel better.
And also you, as a coach then, say, if you're coaching somebody and you haven't got your shit together, it's very easy to get caught up in their shit.
Yeah.
And now you're all in the shit.
I'd be terrible.
There's a lot of shit here right now.
I would be terrible.
You're like, oh my God, I've not got my shit together. Your help, you want my help.
And then you're just all in the mud together.
And because I'm not I'm now like, you do a lot of coaching. When you're in that place, you do a lot of coaching from where you're at.
Right.
And you got to be mindful. It's like, oh God, am I just telling them what I need to hear? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think I need to hear what I just said. Why am I advising you through that? You're not seeing it clearly. Do you know what I mean? Your lens is filtered by your own bollocks.
Yeah.
Probably should put that more articulately, but you got what I was meaning.
I speak fluent Gwilliam already.
Yeah, complete bollocks. Like you're looking at it through your own lens of shit. So you can't really coach. You have to see it completely as it is, which is obviously really hard because we're all seeing it how we are, aren't we?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I've obviously done the work, you're saying.
Yeah.
Is it common? Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah. I think it's important.
I think it's easy to mask in what do you trust now on social media? I sometimes look at people and think, have you done the work on yourself really? What's this nice emotional video you're cut in that's well edited? That I like to think we try and show as much unfiltered kind of stuff as possible. So you get a measure of who we are and who I am. But I think you should do the work on yourself. Yeah, would you go to somebody who's got shit nails? No. You go, God, you've got shit nails. I think you have to have done the work, yeah. Because how can you understand the work if you've not done it? We had a great chat about, I said to you at the coffee shop, I can tell you were like, some people you can tell haven't done the work, reading a lot of books. And you said, I think I was there for a while reading.
I did. For like 10 years, you think you're doing the work, but how can you do the work on your own? You need perspective. You need a guide. Yeah. You need somebody to help you through that. You can do all that, but it's not.
And you've done the work. And I said that because you could tell the way you were talking. And you're like, oh God, this person's had to overcome a lot of realizations about themselves.
All the bollocks I've told myself over the years.
Yeah.
I believed my own bullshit.
How much bullshit do we tell ourselves though? But it's protection.
And it serves as well at that time, so you forgive yourself for it.
But have you ever got to the point then where I've certainly felt shame then around the past. When you know better, you're like, oh, I know better. And I've seen the error of my ways. And then you can go,
the cringe is unbearable. The cringe is unbearable. And you're like, oh,
look at the carnage.
But you've only got, you do what you can with the tools that you got and where your mind is at that time. And this is probably where I'm at the end stage of, not the end stage because you're never done, but the latter stage of your therapy journey is you go through hating either the world or someone or something or some entity. It's never yourself. Then you go to actually the real cause of the problem. Then you hate yourself because of that problem. And then you hate them. And then the end bit is forgiving all of it. And the last person you forgive is yourself for the way you acted, because you're just riddled with shame of the way you acted when you didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But surely that's utopia, isn't it? That's the
well, I don't know what utopia means, but
like Nirvana.
Like the band.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Nirvana like the yeah. I think you're right. I suppose I've tried to reason with myself on things like this, and you're like, well, I think if you have a little bit of shame and guilt, it shows you've grown. Because if you don't have it, if I didn't have some little bit of guilt to start with about some of the things I'd done, I wouldn't be seeing it any differerly. You can't live with shame. You've got to process it. Well, you become an addict. If
you live with shame, it's too much shame, I believe, is that we have all these AA problems, all these programs to help addicts. And most of it is shame. They're living with incredible shame.
Yeah.
So treat that. Don't treat a physical addiction. Yeah. You're not treating it because most of that is, why do we anesthetize? It's to get rid of the feeling of shame most of the time.
Yeah, it's true. It's bang on. I think.
So shame, too much of it.
You can't live with
the biggest
shame,
problem.
But I think everyone's going to experience it.
Yeah.
And if you feel shame about your past, it shows you've probably grown to some degree. You've made a step on that journey, haven't you? If you can look back and go, oh,
yeah,
I wish I had done that. Could have handled that better. God, what am I playing at?
Yeah.
It's when we take that version of ourselves and go, fucking idiot. What? I'm a terrible person. I don't deserve happiness now.
Yeah.
Because look what I've done.
I still do that. I think everyone, I hope everyone does that, where you beat yourself up a little bit and then you have to go, whoa, easy. You didn't know.
That's the key step though, isn't it? And it's playful. From all of the kind of work I've done in that arena of shadow work and stuff, to be playful with it is such a relief. because it can be heavy. Oh God, look at me, and I did this, you know, and you did your impression, like, oh, I'm projecting.
Yeah.
It's like, it's heavy, it's serious, it's like weighing yourself up. But to go,
yeah,
that's why I quite like Sadhguru and stuff. Very playful, like, oh.
he's great.
So is oh God, the bloke who wrote Awareness, Anthony, whatever.
Who wrote
Awareness?
Is that the Green Book?
Nah, it's red, I think. But then again, it's probably got 500 covers. But Anthony, whatever, he was I can't think. But he's very playful. He pokes fun at how serious and stupid and in denial we are.
It's more relatable, that.
It's like he's taking the piss out of me, isn't he? But he's playful. He's doing it with a smile. That. So you're like, yeah, you got me though.
Yeah.
Like, it is actually stupid when you think about it. I think dealing with your past, no easy feat.
Very, very difficult. It's a lifelong journey, dealing with it.
Yeah. And also dealing with other people from your past. You must have had to do some work on other people.
I think, yeah, a huge amount.
Yeah. And that is a challenging one.
Even we went to coffee shop. So I don't come into Doncaster Town Centre. The thought of maybe bumping into a relative I haven't seen for 20 years, I have to do work on that, like walking over there. Like, that's how crazy it is. You still feel.
You did have a stomp on, to be fair.
I was very on.
I couldn't keep up with you. You're like, right. I was like, don't.
I am a fast walker. To be fair, I am a fast walker anyway. I do walk fast. But like things like that where you are, come on, you're not a kid. Just get into the town centre.
That's an element of fear, isn't it?
All the time, yeah. You feel it. And Mark Ellis said a great thing to me about it's either, why do you do everything? And we were at Centre Parks with the kids, and it does give some gems, you know, and you're like, oh, God, I wish I thought that. And he said, why do we do anything? And it's either out of fear or out of love. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's very general. I'm like, and then off I went and questioned everything I did for a week. I'm like, oh, God, he's right. It is either I'm scared of something happening or I love doing it, or do you know what I mean? It's.
But your whole point, I think, is fear doesn't have to be this bad thing that we run from, that stifles us. Because a lot of fear is actually, fuel, growth, lean into it. And learning to do that can transform your life, is what I kind of took from the cliff note of that.
And it is.
And anything worth doing
is going to contain lots of that.
Yeah, it has to.
But I think that the reason I think that's important to tell is because that comes from, which I probably didn't go into on the TED Talk nearly enough, is it's from a unique perspective of not giving a shit about fear and doing things and not caring because you had no, like, there was nothing there, even though it was there, but I was like, I don't care about the consequences. There's no fear. And then really going into it many, many times. I'll give a couple of examples of doing bungee jumps and parachute jumps. Things that I wouldn't do. They're the PG version, which I wouldn't do now with Mark. Like, I don't know if I'd be that, do you know what I mean? Extreme sports every other week, whatever it might be. But when you have that, it's that perspective of going into it all the time. You really start to hone that butterfly feeling versus the bodily, I'm in danger.
The difference it's nuanced, isn't it?
And it's then like I'm getting a little in my stomach now, is that there's a definite, if we're going to launch something in the business or start a new company, but like I can feel, this is good.
But I'm afraid, but it's good.
Yeah.
And it's that subtle difference. Yeah. Do you think it's easy to risk it all when you have nothing to lose?
That's a fabulous thing, because I think it is easier to risk it when you've got nothing to prove, nothing to lose. Nobody thought you'd amount to much. Nobody, you know what I mean? You're going to end up like the rest of your family. You're going to be this, you're going to be that. There's a narrative that surrounds you. And there is a expectation because of where you're from. There's an expectation because of your genetics. Is that, I think I exploited that.
You just described yourself, didn't you?
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, you did. You took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
Because you had nothing to lose. Do you think then?
This is good. I like this conversation.
Yeah. Do you think then, we're just coaching each other now. Do you think then that's why having a kid becomes so difficult? Because all of a sudden, I don't know about your perspective, so I'm not going to put my in your journey, but all of a sudden I was like, fuck, I got a lot to lose now. Like I don't have, I've got, like I got a lot, I'm not just responsible for myself. And when I've got, I always relate back to when I first started my business, I had nothing. I was living in a house with no windows and no doors, ran out of money. I put my last $2,000 for windows into a mentor. I had nothing. I had not a pot to piss in. I literally didn't have a toilet. I had no pot to piss in. I was going to a toilet in the village hall.
I like that.
Right?
I didn't even have the pot. Yeah. Go on.
But it was easy to risk that. I felt looking back, I was like, no, I took those risks. And people, oh my God, that must have been so difficult. You're like, no, but I had no kids at the time. But I had nothing really. It was all falling apart around me. But I felt more comfortable taking that risk than now. Got a nice house, got the kids. So hang on, I've got more to lose. And that seems scarier to me.
But it is scarier
than
when you've got nothing. It's like when we talk about politics and people, why do they vote this? Why do they? When you have fuck all and you just want change, right? And we're going, why is everyone voting for this? Why do people do this? If you've got nothing, you've got to understand it from a perspective of that person. If you've got nothing, any change will do. Any change, even if it's radical and crazy. So putting yourself in the position of that, which is hard to do, that's why people do it, because anything is better.
Anything's better than what I've got.
Anything's better than what I've got.
And you probably can relate to that as well.
Yeah.
Fuck it, Yarrow pair. Yeah. Well, it's got to be. I'll do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So when we have kids, did your fuck it, reckless perspective have to take a shift, is what I'm trying to ask, I suppose. I'm just interested for my own.
My fuck it perspective turned to another fear, which still plagues me, is, which I'd never had up until that point, was me being alive for her. So it all shifted to where I didn't care about me and Alan, didn't live a lifestyle that was healthy, didn't take care of myself, didn't do any of that to, I cannot do this child has not got many extended, she needs a mother, and so suddenly this fear manifested into me going, I need to be as healthy as possible and go on this mission. Like when she was born, the first year after I put on 5 stone, I was most women put it on when they're pregnant. I was so stressed that all I did was eat myself 400 biscuits a day and do whatever, because I was so stressed about not being alive for her, not living for her. And then there was a moment at the end where like, I've got to do everything possible.
And that's because of your past experience.
Yeah. So I think that can go the other way. See, it's still extreme. It's just manifests in different ways.
Yeah.
So now I'm probably too far, apart from vaping, I'm probably too far the other way into want to be alive as long as possible.
It's mad how we have that, isn't it? I was having that conversation about a month ago. I thought I just never used to care about dying.
Yeah.
And now I care.
I massively care. Not for me. No one live this long life.
I'm just like, I don't really want to miss this.
I will have a party for me when she gets to 18, because that's all I want to do is do the work with, do you know what I mean? To be a parent till she's 18. And if I can do that, then I've done far better than anything else that I've been in our family.
I like it. But I think that's why it's so hard when you have I don't know, I'm just relating to you a bit, when you have that kid comes along and you're like, But on social media sometimes, I think that's a funny narrative, because sometimes I watch people market in my neck of the woods too. And it's like, you owe it to your kids. And I'm like, oh, there's a fine line between, hey, like you're saying, God, I had this moment, I need to be around and it's going to make me healthier, to where's the shame come in that? Do you know what I mean? When people are marketing, like you need to, because people turn it and go, oh yeah, I'm failing my kids, I'm failing them. It's like, oh no, don't think, maybe you need an element of, oh fuck, I need to be better, but not so much that you're like, I'm shit, because it sends you the other way. Like you put on 5 stone and eat yourself to death, knowing you don't want to do that. Isn't that mad? Human behavior.
It's crazy.
I really need to stay around and be healthy.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's mental. That your body and your brain will do that because of panic and shame.
It's hard having a little baby around the house. So now that's your biggest fear. You want to just be around and you want to...
My biggest fear is getting to her 18th birthday. And I know that's crazy.
Or maybe your biggest ambition, your aim, your vision. You know, this could be the other way.
Yeah. Just eats away. And that never was there.
Is it
so I never
business?
do anything as risky as I probably would.
Is it made business... This is going to sound a funny question. Not less important, but has it put it into perspective? this journey you've been on? Because you did describe, like, initially it was like, I need money and stability and all the things we never had. And then you were like, actually, I was like, maybe it's more, it's still important. Don't get me wrong. I 100% believe that. But you're like, maybe I need to go on this inner journey a bit, sort my shit out and get myself together. I want to be around and don't want to pass my crap on to her. Let's take care of that. Did it put business into perspective or did it?
I think it didn't. You've got to remember that up until that point, which Mark will tell us what year.
He's just Googling it now.
My entire ego was built on building this business. So I got a lot of, I thought it was about building wealth, not being poor, not being in debt, not living a rental. Do you know what I mean? I thought it was all about this, but it wasn't. What it was about in the end was I became the business. My ego was built on creating this multi-million-pound company. Like I existed for it. I was so proud of it. Which is terrible because you can't be so reliant on one thing in your life if it gets taken away. And I was so reliant on, look what I did. That was the story I told myself. And rightly so, I should be proud of it.
Should be proud of it, yeah.
I should be proud of it. Yeah. But not to the point where everything I did was about NCM. I think you have to be like that in a startup phase, by the way. Yeah, but I'm saying don't be like that. And then Marlo comes along, and there's a battle because NCM was my baby, but then I actually have a baby. And like, how do you balance the two? And I was really, really lucky because a few years ago, I sold some of my business to my old boss at Sheffield United Football Club, Brum. And my life changed because I got to do both. And I've been my ego was built on it being sole founder, shareholder, everything. I've done it all.
I'm the boss.
I'm the boss. I'm the big cheese. I'm still the big cheese, by the way.
Of course you are. Yeah. But your identity is wrapped in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your identity is like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's the challenge. We're talking about parenting a lot, but it is a big moment in your life. It is. And you're like, I've got this other identity. What are you? Mum.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm mum now as well. But they don't have to exist. They don't have to be like, I'm mum or I'm the boss.
I've merged those.
I'm mum boss.
Yeah. But I don't think I would have done, maybe the universe sent me Brum back into my life because I needed
when you say Brum, I think of the car. I'm not really sure it's
from Birmingham. It's from Birmingham.
So you just call him, very original nickname.
Everyone at the football club used to call him Brum, and now everyone at NCM calls him Brum, and everyone clients in it says he's Brum.
I do.
You need to get him on. He's brilliant. Anyway, back to him coming in. So that felt like that's Mark's old sofa, isn't it? That's from Dwell about 20 years ago, and I'm sure that was in his flat at Armthorpe. It just feels really familiar.
I love the fact you're talking.
Right? Am I right?
You're talking. You're like, I'm talking, but hang on a minute. I've sold that. I've heard that. I've seen that.
It's from Dwell.
I've got 5 more like that if you want them. I don't know. I've got 4. We got 27,000 of them.
It's a really, really cool sofa back in the... Oh, wow. There we go.
I can imagine Mark having one of them.
Yeah. It was a really cool sofa.
So you were saying, you're flipping, Brum came in your life.
So yeah, the universe he came in and it was really hard. And I feel it was a hard journey for him because here I am not wanting to relinquish control, but at the same time wanting to give my daughter, I don't want her to see me open a laptop every night, every day, not getting that. Do you know what I mean? I had to find balance.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't you touch my business, Brum. Like how awful for him for years until we found balance where I'm like, oh, you're really good and I get to do this.
Letting go of control.
Let go. And
but you've had to be independent. You've had to.
Yeah.
But yeah, 15 you went off. You have to be independent.
But he almost was, more than any romantic relationship, he was almost the recipient of that because it was the first time I let somebody be in charge of something that was that I'd created and was proud of, and he got battered for the first few years by me. Like, I don't know how he stuck with me whilst I was holding a baby going, don't do this and don't do this. And now it's like, it's all calm and nice.
What changed it?
I think, this is terrible. It's like, I think he proved to me.
You trusted him?
Yeah, but I put him through it was wasn't very kind at times to him.
But I imagine it's hard to let people in on times for all of us, isn't it?
Yeah, and he would say the same. He would say the same.
I often think, I say this a lot, people talk about self-belief a lot and it's important, but I think sometimes we all just want somebody to believe in us.
Yeah. And he stuck around. I think that's it.
Yeah. And also we want somebody we can trust in our lives.
Yeah. You earn your stripes and then...
It's brilliant when you've got somebody who believes in you and somebody who trusts. It's phenomenal. But we have to... Trust is, we have to make it doable. Somebody can prove as much as they want, can't they? We have to go, okay, I'm going to trust you. It's like an extension of, I'm going to trust you. And maybe I haven't been able to trust people before, but I'm going to trust you. That's not flipping easy.
No, it's not.
In life or business.
And you can feign trust as well. You have to feign trusting people. But actually, secretly, I'm out.
Yeah. But I think that's a lot of control. It's like I've had to be independent. I've had to keep control of everything. We don't sometimes trust other people to... I sometimes think we don't ever trust people to maybe handle who we are either. So maybe can you handle me? Or are you going to fuck off?
Yeah.
Or you're going to not be able to deal with me?
Yeah.
We're all difficult. I know I'm difficult.
And that's really what we want them to see. Us at our worst and you'll stay. Well, that's actually not us at our most charming, most funny, most...
Do you love me at my worst?
Yeah.
Do you love me at my most difficult still? It's like, do you love me whatever? Regardless.
That's what I said to Mama. I love you no matter what. No matter what you do, no matter what you say.
Yeah, regardless.
Yeah. No matter
There's
what.
no stipulations.
No matter what. There's no conditions.
There's no conditions, that's it.
There's no conditions.
What it is.
And then she said mad stuff like, well, what if I murder? And I'd love you no matter what. I wouldn't be very happy. I'd be very...
Might be pissed off here. Might have a few choice words, pal. but I'll still love you.
Yeah.
And again, if someone, it's like a thing, isn't it? If someone, but then again, I don't think trust should just be given. Because people do abuse trust. And if someone keeps behaving in my life a way I'm not happy with, it's up to me to correct them on that and reinforce. Oh,
that sounds lovely. I'm just out, gone. When somebody does something to very
I
was.
This is like, no, this is where I'm at. And I actually go back to kids, try and explain that to my little boy. He pushed me. Well, before you punch him, because he's like that, tell him, don't do that. I don't like it. Does it again. No, I don't. I've told you I don't like it. Like, you've got to put the boundary in place, don't you? I think we can just be, everyone, trust everyone. It's like, well, I think I'm a mistrusting person. I'm far too trusting for my own good.
Yeah, you strike me as somebody who'd be really trusting.
Yeah, I like people to have their own experience.
I love that though.
But it leads me into problems where you think, oh, hang on a minute, why have I let you treat me like this? Like I've taught you to treat me this way.
See,
and I need to treat you to treat me differently. Do you know what I mean? I do. It's a sliding scale, I think, with all things.
See, on the whole, bizarrely, I do believe generally people are good. Like I get a bit, and I think the world is generally. So on the whole, most people are good and will do good things, and that there's a very small amount. And actually, history tells me it's more skewed the other way. But I genuinely feel that. But then the trust. I don't naturally trust a lot of people.
Well, you know why that is, though.
Yeah.
You've done the work on that, haven't you?
Yeah.
That'd be through your life.
Yeah.
Things that happen.
Yeah.
That's like all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get... And when you know that, actually, I look back and think, oh, God, have I been a part of some... have I been... Is somebody in therapy right now because of me?
Oh, don't.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, just think it. You think, I reckon there's some people in therapy right now because of me.
I didn't realise. I never even thought that.
I didn't even do it intentionally. I just didn't know any better.
Yeah.
You may be
I
young.
hope they're actually in therapy, not just walking around thinking about it.
Yeah, thinking about me. Well, I don't think they are. We think people are thinking about us. They're not. Yeah. They're doing their shopping in Waitrose, probably.
Waitrose.
Do
you know we don't have a Waitrose in Doncaster?
You have an M&S.
Yeah, but they don't stock coriander. They stock
coriander.
They stock to the audience. Apparently, I went in and asked, "Well, where's the ginger? Where's the plant?" And like, no, we don't. You have to. We just because it's when my grandma used to shop. It's an old lady M&S.
So old ladies don't use coriander.
Well, it's a very. I don't know. No, I don't think she would. It's very gravy-based Doncaster food.
Oh, I do like gravy.
I love gravy.
Yeah, gravy on everything.
What's your death row meal?
My death row meal.
You're on death row. You get a choice, don't you? What your last meal is. What's yours?
I'll probably have a roast dinner, to be quite frank.
A roast. Well, I think roast dinner is top 3 all day long. But I would say chips and egg is up there.
Ham, egg and chips.
Ham, egg and chips with bread and butter.
Yeah, my mum makes me that when I go there.
Yeah.
But my mum, is it good ham or is it shit ham? Because I'm not having some shit ham with it. Just give me the eggs. I can't be doing a shit ham.
Yes, I said
give
that.
Give me the ham you've cooked.
That speech about he knew where to buy good ham. That's bizarre you've said that. Good ham. It's important.
You don't want that shit that's just water, do you?
You can't have wafer thin.
Where's the ham in my water?
I want it like hand carved. That'd be,
Yeah. I don't want much
gammon.
when I go to my
I'll
house.
have gammon.
Gammon's good, but I'm going to need to drink 4 litres of water after. Because I'm not a big fan of pineapple on gammon.
No, I don't like
Just
pineapple.
give me the gammon, give me the egg, give me the chips, give me the peas.
So death row, is it ham, egg and chips or is it a Sunday roast? What's yours? Fry up. A full English. Oh, that could be top 5.
No, it's not.
Oh, pizza. Oh no, not pizza.
Fry it on a pizza in a plastic.
Not a pizza.
Gary Neville was like, my dad would have something butty. I can't think what it was. It was like a burger in a butty. I can't think. I need to know what it was.
Spam.
No, it was like
spam butty.
What was it? It's an episode. I'm never going to get it.
Spam butty for years.
But I remember thinking, what? He was like, he would actually go and have something butty. It was almost like a butty inside a butty. I can't think what it was. I'm never going to do it justice now. Next episode.
Yeah, find out what it is.
Because I remember thinking,
I bet you'd like it.
Who eats that shit?
Me when I was pregnant.
You were eating all that.
I would. Not pregnant afterwards. What would I have? I think I'd have, it's hard. I'd either have a Sunday roast or chips, egg and ham.
Yeah, we're on the same page. But what meat would you choose in the roast?
I would like a 3-bird roast.
3 birds?
I would like roast beef, bit pink. I would like turkey and lamb.
I feel like I'm taking an order. No, lovely. Would you like cauliflower cheese with that, or?
I'm not sure about too many wet things on my Sunday dinner.
I love cauliflower cheese.
Yeah, I love cauliflower cheese, but then with gravy and all the kind of...
You've got to get the meat right. I mean, this is turned cooking with Simon. This is cooking with Simon because my mum, bless her, my dad will not eat red beef.
Oh, really?
So, it's like chewing this microphone.
Yeah.
You're like, Mum, I'm not coming if you're doing that beef. But he won't eat at my house because I'll leave it a bit pink.
But that's experience as well, because I remember the first time I had red meat, it was in Oz and I was at a barbecue and it was in the dark. And I was like, this steak's amazing. And then I went into the kitchen and put the plate there and I was like, oh my God, what is wrong with it? It's all blood. But I'd never had I'd always had overcooked meat.
Yeah.
And it's only because I tasted it and it was pitch black and gone, this is unreal.
Took your senses out the way.
Took everything out. And then I'm like, oh, now I like red meat.
Love it. It's an analogy for fear, isn't it? Jump in there. See what goes on.
Yeah.
Do you know what, mate? We're nearly there. We've been like hour and a half.
Have we?
I've enjoyed talking to you.
I've enjoyed it.
Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been really good. Much more, I want to say, way more relaxed, I felt at times like, oh God, I'm chewing on, let Simon talk. But yeah, no, good. Good, really good.
Nice. I liked hearing you put together your life experiences. I feel like packaging them up even more. We're always packaging shit up, aren't we?
Possibly in nice little bows.
I'm packaging up my parenting issues right now, talking to you. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You made me think, I think it's the fear of responsibility. Sometimes this fear of having too much responsibility, possibly.
Scary.
Yeah, zero responsibility is actually amazing.
Yeah, brilliant. I look back on it nostalgically, like, yes, the freedom of just going anywhere and doing anything.
And it's the fear of losing things. But I like old Don McGowan.
Who's Don McGowan?
Don McGowan Ruiz. He wrote a book called The Four Agreements. And he's
I've read it.
He's like, you don't really own anything. It can all be taken from you. Like, we fear losing these things, but they're not actually ours.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it can all just go.
Yeah.
And what you're left with.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about death a lot because it is very clarifying death.
I don't think there's anything like it.
Wakes people up, doesn't it?
I don't think there's anything, like when people say about why did you start a business, why did you do this? You look at most people, that something happens, there's something great and fabulous in death. That's a terrible way to articulate it. But there's something, when all the bitterness, the terrible grief has gone, you are left with this feeling that you never had before of life's too short. I've got to do something now. It can be taken at any moment. Why care? And then if you experience that several times, you do have this. There's something liberating in it.
We are a funny culture with death. You look at other cultures, indigenous and stuff like that. They see death very differently, and they celebrate death very differently. Obviously, it's difficult when you lose a young child or something. Bloody hell, do you know what I mean? But we have a very weird relationship with death in the Western world, don't we? I read a study on this, like the American, because we're so far removed from it all the time, for most of us. Like it was about PTSD, and they were on about people who operate drones get more PTSD than people in the field killing people.
They get more.
PTSD.
So they get more
because they're so detached from what they've just done. Whereas if you're in a battlefield, not battlefield, it's not like that.
There's so much,
but you're actually like, oh, I've just done that. Whereas someone's just fucking drone bombs someone to death, logs off their computer, goes home and is playing with their kids. Their brains finds that really hard to kind of...
That is, I can see that. So they get more...
They would say they get more PTSD in many ways, more struggle. I don't think it was more the word they used, but I think it was greater levels or something. I should probably post it in a group somewhere. It was a good thing. I was shared it by the Flow Genome Project. We're talking about it. And they're switched on. They're all about the science. So it's like, we are far removed, aren't we, from it. We're not very intimate. We don't like talking about it. A good friend of mine was a doula.
A death doula?
Yeah. And she's like preparing.
I love that.
Yeah. And she's like, and she was a nurse before that, really successful business, independent woman. Actually, very similar to yourself. Really successful, retired, sold business, great. She went and did that. Because she was brilliant. In like end of life care. And she's like, to try and make it more like, we need to talk about these things. We prepare for birth. We don't prepare for death. No one has those conversations. We're too afraid. You don't talk to old people about what they've been through in their lives.
And ask them about, are you worried about dying? Are you worried about this? My friends would say that one of them nicknamed me the death doctor. I'm very okay with when somebody dies is asking them, because I remember what it's like to want to be asked questions. When somebody dies, and I love you mentioned of death doula, is that so many times we skirt around because we're so uncomfortable of feeling or making, what if we make them cry? What if we make this worse? That's actually what they want. You want to talk, you want to say these things. And I don't think a lot of people do. I think they
find it uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think. I remember a lad saying to me, I worked with, his mum died and he came out to work and I was just sort of too afraid to mention it to him.
Around it.
And he said, I just wish people would just say it. He said, because I feel like when they ignore it, this feels worse.
I'm really comfortable about death.
He's like, I just wish people, and after that I always thought, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to ask how people are or...
Yeah, ask them about that person or not going to see people when they're in those... I get it, but also...
It goes back to this whole theme of your TED Talk and everything. It's just the places, the great book, the places that scare us. It scares us to feel these things, and so we don't go there. No matter how transformative it would be for the individual. We don't like it. We don't like being on the unshaky ground, do we? We don't like that. We don't want to lean into discomfort. It's like, I don't want to see my child uncomfortable. Actually, I don't want to feel the discomfort I'm experiencing about him or her. It's this I don't like. And I've got to lean into those things. I've got to feel them because they're there to be felt, aren't they?
100%.
Mate, I've loved talking to you. Brilliant. I feel like I've known you for ages.
I know.
It's been brilliant. Mark, have you liked listening? He's just nodding behind camera. Why are you not talking, Mark? He's got a mic. All right, he's got no mic. That'll do the trick, I suppose, won't it? So you've had a nice few hours.
I've loved it.
I appreciate your time.
No, I don't know what I expected, but not as easy as this.
I'll take that as a compliment.
On guard, I think I would be.
Yeah, you've relaxed, haven't you?
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't want to blow my own trumpet here, Mark, but really I am a coach.
Yeah.
That's my skill. I'm not a speaker.
I
can speak. Mark's seen me speak. I can speak, but my style's not speaking to a room of 1,000 people and commanding. He might disagree. But I'm much more playful and back and forth.
Well, you can see why you're good at your job because it's easy you open up to you. It's easy to talk. You make it easy. It's a back and forth. It's a little emotional tennis match of you share, I share, you share, I share. It's not just somebody being put on there, that's good. And it's experience versus experiences. Oh, that's my perspective, this is yours. That's what connection is, isn't it? With everyone. And if you feel that, then you're more liberated to
you
open
share.
up.
What I see is you share, I share, I share, you share. And all of a sudden I see you go, where you're putting something together in your mind. And then you probably look at me when I'm going,
yeah.
I'm thinking about what you just said and putting it into my life. Mm-hmm. And then we come back. That's what it should be about, conversation. Well, not all conversations. Imagine every conversation being like this. Would you like the coriander? Well, I was thinking about coriander, actually. And, it's not an overly used herb around this area. And,
you said some magic too. What did you say? I was like, what the hell?
And if you look at coriander from its and look at the population we're in here, it's like, okay, I just want the coriander.
Yeah, the dwell sofa. Yeah.
Oh, yes, the sofa. And I now know that Mark would eat a fry-up on his last meal. I couldn't die feeling that bloated. So I'd be like, I just can't do it, mate. You're going to have to give me something light.
Yeah.
A nice roast dinner, something comforting.
Well, I think a fry-up is comforting. It's like a warm hug in your belly.
I feel like fucking I need to go on a diet.
Would you have bread and butter, sliced bread and butter with your chips and egg to dip in your egg?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I thought you meant with roast dinner. I was like, no way.
Oh,
but
no.
with 100% white bread.
Yes.
Don't give me any. And
with Lurpak.
With some shit butter
or
on it. Or
President.
Shit butter.
Shit butter?
Shit butter.
I don't want shit butter.
Well, not shit butter. I mean, like, not posh. I'd be like, no,
I want posh butter. I want like Lurpak. Isn't Lurpak posh butter?
Nah, it's not. It's not, is it? Nah. I'm going to rattle that on there like that thick.
Yeah, like a doorstep.
And like, yeah, don't give me wholemeal with it.
So when you dip it in the egg, the actual runs.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
I don't want the wholemeal. Do you want some wholemeal? No. If I'm going to have bread, I may as well go all out with my chips.
I want the one that's got zero nutritional value.
Yeah. I want to put this in my body and feel like I'm killing myself.
Yeah.
Generally.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Anyway, did you like that, Mark? I'm not trying to be healthy, so I'm a man of extremes.
Yep,
I'm not being healthy. I may as well just go really fucking terrible on this. Cool. Well, thank you very much. I meant what I said. It's been a pleasure. And I also meant, I appreciate your time because you run a big business. You're taking time out. You had to go through 4 sets of traffic lights outside the train station. Mm. You had to have a coffee with me.
First world problems.
It's difficult. It's been a good Thursday. The time sponsored by me is 2:15. So have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.